When I'm looking at the awards for the year for the NFL, it's a lot of different categories. The categories are broken up into kind of the ones we know: NFL, MVP of the year, Rookie of the Year, stuff like that. Defensive Player of the Year, Executive of the Year, Coach of the Year. I'm going to go over who I think should be the moves as far as the MVPs for the year. So, getting right into it, folks. This NFL season has been up and down. We've seen a lot of surprises, a lot of good teams, a lot of bad teams, and a lot of playmakers. A lot of people that have literally um, stood to the test of time, and then some that have been shaky, some have been outstanding. But when it comes to NFL MVP, when you're thinking about who's the most valuable player in the NFL, I think it comes down to four or five guys. When you're thinking about NFL MVP, these are guys that are making impacts. These are guys that are each and every week they're guaranteed to do something special. And I have my list of four or five. I'm going to start out at number. I'm going to start out with Miles Garrett. Miles Garrett should be in the MVP conversation, even though the Cleveland Browns are bad right now. Miles Garrett is about to break the sack record as far as NFL sacks in a single season. And you think about just how excellent he's been. His body of work of the last couple of years has been very consistent. He's been the MVP of the Browns defense almost his whole entire existence on the Brown organization. The offense he can't control, but what he does on defense, getting after the quarterback and doing it in the way that he does, Miles Garrett essentially should be getting votes for the NFL MVP. Now, I know he won't be in the conversation to win it, but just looking at his body of work, the way that he's able to help the Browns team on defense, the sack, the getting to the quarterback, the hit progression, a number of things he's just doing well. So he needs to be acknowledged because the way that he's getting to the quarterback, the way that he's getting sacks, the way that he's essentially can't be blocked. It doesn't matter, double team, triple team, he's doing a little bit of everything. Um, and I mean, he's the defensive player of the year as well. So that's one of those things where it's already understood he's defensive player of the year this year, and AP NFL MVP should be a consideration as well. The next one up is Justin Herbert. Looking at the Chargers and the way that their season started, the way that it got to about the middle and it started to teeter totter, and then he took it to the next level and he helped excel. Welcome in, welcome in. But I'm just looking overall at just the way that Justin Herbert's been able to bounce back. He suffered a couple of injuries, still was able to help the Chargers be where they are right now. And the Chargers are right on the heels of the Denver Broncos. And you look at them possibly being able to win the AFC West. And just the way that he's been playing, just the way that he's been leading, that's an MVP type candidate. And you see him still progressing as a young quarterback, still learning the game, still doing things. That's why he's there. Look at Drake May. When I look at Drake May has the Patriots essentially about to get a bye in the playoffs. Potential number one seed. You see the way that these carrying themselves. Still just 23 years old and still in his second NFL season, 70% for completions. He's doing a little bit of everything. He's making the right plays. He's doing the right things. Yeah, 6'7". But Drake May is definitely somebody that you can hold your hat on. The MVP conversation has to come through New England at some point. Looking at the way that they play the Bills and the way that they're able to win the AFC East, Drake May has been phenomenal. Drake May has been the resurgence of the Patriots. Them getting Mike Vrabel, them putting the ground foundation, going and get Stephon Diggs, going and spending free agency money. It's just been a number of things that have happened, and Drake May has been a big part of that turnaround. Being able to not only fill the shoes of a Tom Brady, but you're seeing this guy build his own etch in history. So he's not just following in the footsteps of Tom Brady. He's literally being the New England Patriots quarterback and ascending. Josh Allen should be in the conversation as well. Josh Allen has the Bills in a place where they're familiar with, but without his leadership, without him being who he is, they wouldn't be anywhere close to where they are. And just look at how he's playing quarterback. He doesn't have a great core of wide receivers. He doesn't have a great core of tight ends, but he's doing what he needs to do to help the Bills win. He's making sure that they're able to win football games and to stay in the football games when Cook isn't running the football and cutting up and that defense isn't doing what they need to do. Josh Allen is essentially right there. But I think the winner that's going to be actually the actual winner of the award is going to be Matthew Stafford. When you think of the Los Angeles Rams and you think of just where they are, they're 11-4. And looking at just how the Rams have dealt with injuries, remember he started the season with that back injury. And there was a lot of people that wrote off the Rams to be bad or wrote them off to not be able to beat Seattle or the 49ers. They were able to not only hold serve, but able to dish out punishment, beating some of the best teams in the NFL. At age 37, Stafford looks like he's the MVP. 40 touchdown passes, 4,000 yards. I mean, he's out wheeling and dealing. Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, the defense has been rolling for the Rams. It's just like, you never know. But I think Matthew Stafford is actually going to win that award. Offensive Player of the Award, I think that goes to, you had several different options. You had Bijan Robinson. You had Puka Nacua. You had Sam Darnold. You had Jonathan Taylor, who had a hot start. But I think when it's all said and done, the Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Jackson Smith Enigma. When you think about just the way that he's been playing as the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, over 1,600 yards, 10 touchdowns, over 100 receptions. I think that he's going to get in that triple-digit category as far as, big-time catches, big-time catch radius, a guy that you could depend on in the red zone. It doesn't matter. Slant routes, go routes, stop and goes. It doesn't matter what he runs on the route tree. He's deadly. He can hit his head on the goalpost from anywhere on the field. And Sam Darnold has been his best friend this year. Looking at the way that they've been connecting, and when you look at his share of touches, 45+% for the Seahawks offensively. And when you think about this, being able to slash through defenders, being able to create mismatches, even when he's double teamed. He's only had one bad game this season, and you're looking at the way that he's been able to play, it's not just he's a gimmick guy. Because I know a lot of people that were talking about he was a gimmick. He only does slants or he only does screens and stuff. No, if you look at the man's game, when he had DK Metcalf, he did a lot of those screens and things like that because DK was seen as the number one guy. When DK last year was a member of the Seahawks, DK got the lion's share of the passes. He got the lion's share of so many different things. But when you're looking at it right now, you're looking at how he's not only leading the team in receptions, leading the team in touchdowns, leading the team in catches, but he's also a model citizen. His route running has improved. I'm thinking in primetime games where he needs the ball against the team. Just look at the game last week. He was able to break the game open just the way that he played. Getting open, finding the little gaps, finding the little holes, creating mismatches, and not just getting the catch, but getting the yak as well. And you got to think about this. How important it is to move the change in the fourth quarter. When you look at this, he's been one of the most active wide receivers on fourth downs and third downs and those conversion downs where you got to either get the conversion or you're punting. Get the conversion or you got to go for it on fourth down. He's the guy that they call number-wise when they're going to it. They're not running the ball on fourth down. They're going to him. So that's why I think that Jackson Smith and when you think of the names of like James Cook, who's doing what he's doing with Buffalo, and Bijan Robinson, Atlanta having an outbreak season, Sam Darnold, just his quarterback, having an outbreak season in Seattle, Puka Nacua with the Rams, and Matthew Stafford and Jonathan Taylor, respectfully, in Indianapolis. These guys have all had great seasons. But I think Jackson Smith is right there above them with that. So I think that overall, that's, and I talked about it already. I've already talked about it. But when you think about this and from the standpoint, the defensive player, Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett is hands and shoulders above. There's conversation about Micah Parsons being in the conversation and Patrick Surtain. Both of those guys have gone down for injuries this season. I know Micah Parsons is done for the year, but Patrick Surtain is back with the Broncos, who missed a couple of games. But I think the clear-cut winner in there is a unanimous Defensive Player of the Year. Now, when we're talking about Offensive Player of the Year for the rookies for the Offensive Player of the Year, it's a couple of different nominees here. You got Ashton Genty, what he's been able to do with his season and salvage that in Vegas. You got Jackson Dart, what he's done with the Giants. Quishon Junkins with the Browns. Tyler Warren with the Colts, very impressive. You got McMillan in Carolina. But when I'm thinking about the winner of this, you got Tyler Show down in New Orleans. I think Trayvon Henderson. We were thinking about the Patriots and where they are right now, fighting for that number one seed, being able to be managed with Drake May. He has stood out and done some great things. I know McMillan in Carolina has almost 1,000 yards, has 7 touchdowns, but it's more impressive what I'm thinking Trayvon Henderson has done in New England, being able to help pull this team back together. Remember, just a year ago, New England was a laughingstock. Remember, they were still trying to find themselves after losing certain games and getting beaten so bad in certain. They were trying to find their identity. And Coach Vrabel has helped them find that. Henderson has been big with that. Drake May's been big with that. So I think that. Now, Defensive Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year. To me, it's hands down. It's the conversation with James Pierce with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons' edge rusher has not only given the Falcons a pass defensive identity, but he's also made it to where it's tough to run versus the Falcons. Not only has he, as a rookie, has set the tone, but he's become the defensive leader. He's become the captain of the defense, if you think about this. Yeah, you got the Abdul Carters, and yeah, you got Carson in Cleveland playing linebacker. But from this standpoint, the growth of what you've seen from the Atlanta Falcons, the growth of what you've seen in doing these things, I think you have to have the conversation. You have to have so much more when you're thinking about just where this is. Because the Atlanta Falcons, without him, are a worse defensive team. And think, a rookie on the edge. When you're setting a tone for both sides, they got another rookie on one side at linebacker. You got one rookie at defensive end. James Pierce is who it is. Now, Coach of the Year, it was a lot of different candidates for this. Because you got to look at what the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing. How they're great with Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, from the standpoint, Jacksonville had Travis Hunter. When you see them drafting, they got a lot of good. Jacksonville has had so many first-round picks that now those first-round picks are starting to gel together. It says they were especially the biggest laughingstock and losing number one. Yep. Absolutely. They turned, by the way, Carson. Give or take. Now, Carson's great. Don't get me wrong. Carson's great. When you look at what the Browns are doing, look at how the Browns' defense is, it's just Myles Garrett overshadows a lot of what Carson's doing. Because Myles Garrett is doing what he does, you have to keep in mind there's almost a eclipsing, if you will, an eclipsing of everything because of what Myles Garrett's done. When you look at Atlanta, there is no defensive star on the Falcons. That pass rush was non-existent for years. Now they have that with Pierce. That's the only reason why I pick it. It's more, you can see it jump off the page more in Atlanta. You can see it jump off the page more, and now all of a sudden it's boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's a little different, but it's also one of those things where it's a growth process. I love where the Browns are defensively. The defense is not the problem. It's the offense. Them not starting Shador. Them using things and not being upfront about what they want to do offensively. So that's one of those things where I'm looking at it. But when I'm looking at Coach of the Year, I'm looking at the Jacksonville Jaguars. So that's one of those things where I look at it and it's like, okay. But I think that Mike Vrabel ultimately takes Coach of the Year. As good as I love and like what they're doing in Jacksonville, it's a little more impressive in New England. Now, mind you, all those first-round picks that they got, remember, you got a couple of picks that were in the top 10 that were in there in Jacksonville. They got the other Josh Allen that plays linebacker. You got Walker that was taken from the University of Georgia. You got Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. You got Eatoney that was a high draft pick a couple of years ago. So you have the foundational pieces that have been drafted. Now you have an offensive competent coach that literally has come in and set the tone offensively. That's made it easier for Trevor Lawrence to do his job. Remember, the issues in Jacksonville weren't just defensively, they were offensively. Where the offense would bottom out and all of a sudden the team looks crazy like he's never even played offense before. Now you're getting some type of wide receiver play. Now that you're getting consistency at the wide receiver position, it looks a little different. And then when you're able to run the football, when you're able to do things and slow down defenses from just charging at your quarterback, it hits a little different. Imagine you having a quarterback that is a top 10 quarterback, but he doesn't have an offensive line, or the offense can't get the plays off right. And think about this: he's had Urban Meyer, he's had so many different offensive coaches, and it's been inconsistent. To now, who does he trust? Now, when you're thinking about the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have so many different things that you can ask yourself. Now, also, the Bears need to be in this conversation, because what Caleb Williams and company are them have doing in Chicago, when you see that there's actual standard and Ben Johnson holds them accountable, yes, they've been the cardiac Bears and win games late in the fourth quarter, in the last second plays. Yes, they've been great from that standpoint, but when I'm looking at overall, New England has the more impressive season so far. When you look at the MVP candidate, it's Drake May that's up there. When you look at the MVP candidate, it's the running back, Henderson, that's up there from the rookie class. So they have several guys that are actually producing. When you look at the big pickup that they had for Milton in the offseason from the Philadelphia Eagles, when they signed him in free agency, that was huge, phenomenal. These are things that put teams in positions to be active 20 plus years, 10 plus years, 15 plus years as far as being relevant. Because you don't know how long Drake May is going to play if he keeps getting the same protection. You don't know how long Henderson can play if they keep blocking like that. All these big chunk yards that he's getting. These big 60 and 50 and 40-yard runs. And when you see Drake May being able to hit Stephon Diggs, and offensively, they don't have to have a lot of yards together. But when they're picking up chunk yards, they're picking up big plays, they're doing things, and he's playing smart up here. To where now you're able to kick field goals to get points. You're able to score touchdowns. You're able to do certain things, but you're not punting the ball. Everything's mattering with these things. So I do give Coach of the Year to Mike Vrabel. I don't know if the Patriots would be in the same position if they didn't have Mike Vrabel right now. I don't know if another coach is plugged into that position and they still have that same success. They're still at the number one seed in the AFC, or they're still winning the AFC East. You just got to ask yourself, do you trust this Patriots team to be under the tutelage of somebody else? What happened now that Bill Belichick couldn't get right? What happened now that the last coach couldn't get right? That Mayo couldn't get right? But I like what I see from this. Now, the last award that I'm going to give. When I'm thinking of Executive of the Year, this is the general manager essentially of the year. Now, I could go New England Patriots. I could say boom, boom, bam. I like what they've done. They turned everything around. I could go Jacksonville Jaguars. Boom, boom, boom. I like what they've done. They turned it around. I could go Denver Broncos, as well as they've been playing. Boom, 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 boom. Let's turn it around. But I'm going to give you a curveball with this one. I'm going with the Seattle Seahawks. When you look at John Schneider and what they've been able to do out west in Seattle and big Oregon country, when you think of overall Sam Darnold being placed there, when you look at Geno Smith and what he's done with the Raiders this season, the smarts to get rid of Geno Smith, and you flip that acquisition to Sam Darnold, when you're able to take something, flip it, and then get a return on the investment immediately, who knew Geno Smith was going to bottom out? I know he was having trouble last season towards the end, but who knew? You were able to get something from the Raiders for Geno Smith, and then boom, you signed a quarterback in free agency, the best quarterback that was available, and now look at Jackson Smith-Njigba. You were able to get rid of DK Metcalf. We know how bad of a route runner he is, even though he's a project still as far as a wide receiver. When you look at getting speedy threat Rashid Shaheed on the team. Rashid Shaheed on the team. When you're able to essentially do things like get Byron Murphy, Grace Abel, A.J. Barner. When you're able to do things like this, it hits differently. It hits differently, folks. So these pieces being put together, you're a master chef and you put it all together. Now you've essentially got a melting pot of great players on the Seattle franchise. Now Seattle looks a whole lot different now. That Seattle team looks a whole lot different now. And you just got to ask yourself, what's going to separate the Seahawks moving forward? In a division where the 49ers are strong, the Rams are strong, and they are strong, is Sam Darnold going to be able to do this and push them over the top? I believe so. If nothing else, when you look at this team here, and the way that they've prepared themselves, the way that they've been battle tested, the way that they've been doing certain things, do you believe in this Seattle team? The answer is yes. Seeing the resolve that they had on the game where they went toe-to-toe with the Rams and they went down to it, even though it was a questionable 2-point conversion call, did they go toe-to-toe with the Rams and do what they did? The answer is yes. When you see them go up against Tampa, which is a strong team that we saw offensively, they were still able to answer the bell. When you see the work that they do, and not only offensively, but you're seeing the defense start to step up. You're seeing the cornerbacks start to develop and play. You're seeing so many different things that are positive green flags for the Seattle Seahawks. And again, you got rid of Geno Smith and you got something for him. Look at what Geno's doing in Las Vegas, stinking up the joint. Look at what they've done with Pete Carroll and company, stinking up the joint. You've essentially flipped what you potentially done, and you sped forward a couple of years. And I know that they say all Ohio State wide receivers are great, but no, Jackson Smith has elevated himself to possibly the best Ohio State receiver to come out as of late. I know that you've got an impressive crew from Garrett Wilson, Olave. I know it's a lot of different guys that came out of Ohio State. But it says being back, Superman Cam. You mean bring back? I just think that overall, when you're thinking about Seattle, and you're thinking about just how impressive this core was, it's amazing. And I like what I'm seeing from them. I know what you meant. But I think that Cam's in a different space. Cam's not really focused on football right now. Even though Cam says he trains every day, and I think that Cam's mind is more so outside of football. So when you think about this, you're thinking about this and saying, do you feel like Cam Newton is going to be bigger in football? As good as Cam Newton was, Cam Newton wasn't accurate. Cam Newton as of late, I know Cam MVP Cam, 2015 Cam was something special. I know that him being at Auburn was special. I know that him coming to the league was special. But you got to ask yourself, would he have uplifted the team that he was on? Would he have? That's the question. So that's from that foundation standpoint, I don't think Cam would be a good fit with Carolina. Yes, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I agree with that. He's better than Geno. He's better than Rivers. But you got to think, how long would it have taken Cam to get into Indy's system and actually have digested the playbook? That's something you got to think about. As good as Phillip Rivers was when he retired, you got to think him and that playbook he knows the playbook. It's not the same playbook exactly that the previous regime ran, but it's almost similar to it. Cam has never ran that kind of offense. Cam hasn't. So you got to ask yourself, at that standpoint, what would Cam be doing? Cam could lead the Jets to the playoffs? Not that Jets team. No, not that Jets team, no. I don't believe so. It's not that easy. It sounds good, but you got to think, with that defense not having anybody, remember, that defense has yet to get a defensive interception this season. I'm going to say that again. The Jets have not got a defensive interception this season at all. The Jets have not got an interception on defense this season at all. I'm going to say that one more time. The Jets have not got a defensive interception this season. Trading away your best players, Quinnen Williams. Trading away Sauce Gardner. Like, not really running the ball like you should when you got Breece Hall. There's a number of things that they're not doing well. So, and coaching is one of those things. We can blame Justin Fields all we want to. Justin Fields can't read defenses. Justin Fields cannot read defenses. So as good as everything has been,
Merry Christmas, my
Merry
friend.
Christmas. Have you heard the rumor John Gruden to Michigan? I haven't heard it, but I would say that John Gruden could do something. When you think about John Gruden and you think about his offensive prowess, they need somebody that's going to be an offensive guy. Michigan is a school where they're going to get recruits, regardless of whoever the coach is. They're going to get recruits. So you got to ask yourself, from the standpoint, do you want the big name to be able to recruit people in? Because the coach that was fired was a great recruiter. No, I don't like Coach Prime to the Browns. No, absolutely not. Coach Prime works better in college. When you're talking about grown men that are millionaires and making money, their attitude is not going to be the same as those college kids are. So where Coach Prime is special at, he's special in helping organize and help build and help bring up young men. Sometimes in the NFL, that's not going to work. You saw with Nick Saban. When Nick Saban is firing off in college, it's different because he has full control. When he went to Miami, you saw it wasn't the same thing. So you don't get the same kind of energy sometimes out of the older guys than you do the youth. That's why Coach Prime is special. That's why Nick Saban's special. That's why they have that little tool inside of them where they can do something like that. So that's why it hits differently. Coach Prime is a great motivator, but I see what you yeah, because if I'm a millionaire and I hear Coach Prime talking like the way he talks, it's just like okay. Like but when kids hear it, they see prime time from NFL, from this is prime Deion Sanders. This is the NFL legend Deion Sanders. That holds more weight in college than it does. It says I wish Raiders would hire a Notre Dame coach. Now I wouldn't be opposed to that. I would not be opposed to that because I feel like he's a guy that gets it. He's a guy that not only gets it in college, he was great at Ohio State, if you remember. Remember, before he came to Notre Dame, he was at Ohio State. He was one of the great recruiters for Ohio State. So sometimes your greatest people persons are also an effective coach in that standpoint, from as far as X's and O's. But I think that it's overall when you think about the little things that make coaches special, I think part of it is X's and O's, part of it is understanding how to teach, and a part of it is understanding that every player is not going to be a great player, but how can you get the little things out of those players that are not great to make them elevate themselves? When you think about just the likes of a Deion Sanders or the likes of a Marshall Falk or the likes of a Warren Sapp, when you see these coaches go back in their coaching and they may have been all-time greats. They may have been all-time special players. But how do you get the best out of guys that are 3 stars, that are not 5 stars, that are not 4 stars? How do you get the best out of the guys that are not your rotational guys and then all of a sudden get those backups to become better than what they used to be? It's coaching. Look at Travis Hunter. Look at the job that Prime Time did with Travis Hunter and helping him develop and become a Heisman candidate and a Heisman winner. Think of the likes of when you saw him at Jackson State, a wiry kid that had potential, and you saw the writing on the wall, you know. So from a standpoint, you're able to get so much done with Travis Hunter because Prime took the time to help develop him. Now, when he gets to the Jacksonville Jaguars, he's fully built and developed as a player. Now, yes, at the NFL, you're going to have to learn some extra things, but I feel like Shador Sanders was fully prepared. I feel like Travis Hunter is fully prepared. When you look at, what's his name, Horn, that plays for the Panthers, is prepared. These guys are fully prepared coming in as pros. And I'm not just talking about on the football field. I'm talking about off the football field as well. The way that they're able to be developed and they come in, think about this. Players now, you have to come in ready to play. Back then, you could sit on the bench as a quarterback for a couple of years. They don't have that now. You can't do that now. Do Lane Kiffin and LSU make the playoffs next year? With the amount of money that they're possibly going to spend in the NIL portal, with the recruiting that they have, I think that that's a strong possibility. But that would be only if they can beat Alabama. They're going to have to go through Alabama because Kalen DeBoer and company have a hold on the SEC still on the West. It's not Georgia's kind of hold, but I think that Kalen DeBoer and them still have the recruiting edge over Lane Kiffin right now. Because they're in the college football playoff, there's more prominent spotlight. And when you just look at the rich lineage of Alabama, they're going to get a lot of first choices before LSU gets a bite at the apple. So those guys that are in the transfer portal looking to go here or there that are great, they're going to say, you know what? Let me listen to Alabama a little bit more before I listen to LSU. And you got to think, Lane Kiffin's offense takes about a year to get in. Most of the offensive projects that Lane Kiffin has had is take almost a year to get started. So from the standpoint, he doesn't fit right in like a glove. It may take a season for him to get some guys in there. Now, mind you, LSU may have some good athletes that can do that. Yeah, I know. That's why I said it may take a year to get him some guys in there. So mind you, that first year is going to be the year where it's okay. You're going to take losses. You're going to not be great. You're not going to go undefeated. Okay, we buy that. You got it. You've bought yourself some time by coming to LSU. So now that you're here, we're going to give you $20+ million per year to do this. So now 50 mil is enough to you be able to play with numbers to get some recruits in and get the NIL going. Because you may not recruit well your first year. That's fine. Because of the time that you've come there, you didn't have a full year to recruit. So that can be forgiven. But that second year is going to be key. Can you leverage the NIL and can you leverage your actual recruits to where you're getting the 5 and 4 stars that fit with the NIL recruits? Because now you're asking guys that don't know your system that are going to probably be rentals for 1 year to come in and do that. It says they should have made Tulane and JMU play each other and put Notre Dame in there. Yes, I agree. I didn't want to see JMU or Tulane, respectfully. They should have put Vandy and they should have put Vandy and or Texas or Notre Dame in. Vandy, it should have been a combination of Texas Notre Dame, Texas Vandy, or whatever. It should have been a combination of those 2 or 3. The games would have been much more competitive. And remember that game against Alabama, Oklahoma, that was very competitive. Remember, it started out bad, 17-0. But Alabama slowly came back and surged, and late in that football game, it became a game. So that's the tough part about it. That's the tough part about it. You just got to be careful, folks. You got some great. So I don't know, but the college football season, I think the finish is going to be great. Don't get me wrong. I think the finish is going to be great. It says Notre Dame is being left out. Makes sense. Notre Dame said they don't have the win. Yeah, I get it. They need a conference championship game, too. Facts, and Oregon can't compare after first round. They are too small. Yep. Oregon is going to get a taste of their own medicine when they start facing teams that are heavier than them. Because that finesse stuff, it works. It's cute. It's cute during the regular season. But when the college football playoff and you have to face teams that have larger defensive lines and you have to face teams that have larger offensive lines, that's where you're going to see the difference. When you see how big some of these offensive linemen are in the SEC, or even with the Big Ten, like Indiana, that's going to be bigger teams. And, says Santa know if you're awake. I know. Santa ain't coming down this chimney, respectfully. It's a dog in the lobby. But no, I think that for everything that they're... Yeah. But I like the way that it's currently constructed because it makes regular season games that much more impactful. Because you're trying to get to the team that's the fastest. You're trying to get to the team that's the fastest to the win percentage and wins. And what that does is that maximizes that you're playing out of conference games that really matter. Nobody wants to see Oregon face a Middle Tennessee Tech. Nobody wants to see Texas play Southeastern Missouri Western Christian College. Like nobody wants to see that. So I like the way that Texas and Ohio State started. Mind you, there was no warm up games. It was Texas, Ohio State, and you got whatever you got to start the season. That means your offseason is going to have to be tough practice wise. That means your spring game is going to have to be tough practice wise. That means every single thing is going to matter detail wise. That means you putting the work in, you putting the playbook installs in, you getting the right NIL guys, and you spending the money where you want to. And you got to think about this. The game, Texas versus Ohio State, was less than 10 points. Less than 10 points difference to start the season. It wasn't a blowout. Yes, absolutely. And again, you don't have to play all top premier teams, but play games that are going to be competitive to where we can actually watch. How many games did we turn on this season where in the fourth quarter it's a 30-plus point game? There was a lot of those. A lot of those. And when you think about it, those teams that essentially were battle tested are now in the college football playoff. Look at Georgia and their tough schedule. Look at Ole Miss and their tough schedule. Look at Bama, their tough schedule. Now, mind you, Ohio State is going to get a wake-up call. Ohio State's going to get a wake-up call. I believe so. I believe so. Because what's going to happen is they're going to essentially go up against a Miami team. And if they beat Miami, they're going to probably have to face Georgia. And I think that Georgia's defensive line is really going to show you a lot of what you don't have. It says, would you mess with a girl that has 2 kids from 2 different men? That ain't my cup of tea. This is a sports show. This is a sports show. We don't talk about stuff like that here. That's listen. This is a sports show. Bad content. He came in and asked that. He just stuck that in there. He didn't care what was going on. He didn't care what the conversation was. He's just like, so I'm just like, hey, listen, wrong channel. Good question, wrong channel. So we stay inside the lines of sports here. We don't get to the left. We don't get to the right. See, that's a dangerous, that's what they said. None of my business. None of my business. But I think that overall, Ohio State's going to get a wake-up call. If Miami doesn't get to them, then I think Georgia will actually beat them. Because Indiana showed us what you can do to slow Ohio State down. And when you don't have one that's just going to essentially, one player can slow down Ohio State. It's so many different things. So, got services. Okay. All right, let me give you a call back, 208. All right. So, from that standpoint, I think that the college football playoff is going to be a successful one this year. I think that you have enough heavyweights with Georgia, with Ole Miss, with Miami, with Ohio State, with Bama, with Indy, with Texas Tech, and Oregon. I think you're going to see a great college football playoff. I think that Oregon versus Texas Tech is going to be a boat race. I think that that's going to be one of those games where both teams could essentially score 40-plus points. I think that Texas Tech offense, when it gets going, when they have all the pieces on the field, and that quarterback that they have that's been injured is on the field, they are rocking. The defense for Texas Tech does have the opportunistic chance to make stops against Oregon. Oregon's offense is consistent, but when they're met with resistance, it's tough for them to get over the hump. And when you think about this, Bama versus Indiana, Indiana has to be careful because Bama can go for them toe-to-toe. Bama can go for them toe-to-toe and essentially rock them. So when you're thinking about overall everything that Bama does, Bama has the consistency offensively, They can run the football. They have a good enough quarterback that can throw the football down the field and make some of those NFL type throws. Now, when you're thinking about Georgia versus Ole Miss, this is a rematch. What do we know about rematches? A team that's already faced you that year, they have almost like a calister. They know that, okay, these are your tendencies. These are what Georgia wants to do. It's added pressure on Ole Miss because they don't have Lane Kiffin. So is this Diddy? No, I'm not Diddy. But I don't want to be Diddy either. It's tough. It's tough. Because Georgia, Kirby has the defense. Kirby has the offense. When I look at this team, the Georgia team that started the season, it's not the Georgia team that's now. They're even better on defense. They're running the football better. They're protecting the quarterback better. They're more aggressive on defense. They're playing better ball on offense. They've stopped dropping the ball as much on offense. So there's a number of positives that are what we're seeing. And then Miami. If Miami's defense shows up like they showed up last game against Texas A&M, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. This year, if Ohio State goes down, the whole season is in question. We'll look at Ryan Day a little different. It's just like one game. One game. This is why the tournament's so special, folks. That's why it's so special. It is why it is so special. But nah, it's tough. It's tough. But nah, shout out to y'all. I want to shout out to everybody that's pulled up for this short live stream. I know we talked about the NFL awards. I know we talked about a little bit of college. Got a couple of questions in there. Shout out to all y'all. I would like to thank the top ranking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fans of the stream. Shout out to all y'all. Shout out to everybody. We're going to do this more often. I know that a couple of people have reached out and said they wanted me to do more live streams. I want to try to do more live streams. And again, I want you guys to chime in. Whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to talk to, let's talk about it. Again, it says Black Santa. That's funny, man. That's funny. That's funny. But nah, you guys. If this is before you go, folks, what's the best quarter? I'm gonna be honest with you. I like Oregon versus Texas Tech. I like Oregon versus Texas Tech. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is going to be a boat race, but the Capital One Orange Bowl is going to be a high-scoring affair, I feel. Neither one of their defenses is going to play lights out to where they're stopping people because you got to think about this. Their time of possession, their offensive possessions, they value those so much and it goes so quick. It's just like boom, 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 boom. So it's almost like damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's just like, okay, one stop could change the whole game. One stop in the first half could change the whole game. Because I feel like India is going to go down to the last possession with whoever has it is going to win. I feel like Georgia is going to dominate Ole Miss because I think Georgia and Ole Miss are off talent-wise. I think that Georgia's more dominant talent-wise than Ole Miss, no matter what you got going on. Okay, I could see that happening, but I also could see Texas Tech offenses sputtering out 1 to 2 series and Oregon taking a quick lead and them having to catch back up and catch back up and catch back up because Oregon doesn't have a weakness offensively. They have 5 guys that you could throw the ball to at any point in time. They get a first down. There's not just they don't lean on just one guy. That the offense is that spread out to where you can throw it to a wideout, you can go to a running back, you can go to a tight end. The quarterback can keep the ball himself. It's that kind of Chip Kelly type offense. So now the predication is on: do you have 5 defenders that you trust to be able to slow these guys down? Because when they go to that 5 formation where there's no running back and the running back is literally in the wide receiver role, what do? Do you have a dime package where you're going to have big enough corners that can keep up with them? Because it ain't linebackers that's keeping up with all these folks. Do you have multiple players or athletes that you can put on the field in a special package? Because you got to think to this. Once they get on that field and they get a first down, it's a no huddle offense situation. So are you going to have the same guys exposed for a whole series? You're going to have to practice and be out of breath for a couple of series. So if Oregon gets the matchup that they want on defense, those players aren't coming out. You're going to have to call timeout to stop them. That's why the play calling is going to be so crazy. That's why it's just like I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it, folks. But I want to tell y'all thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you like my content, please share my content inside your Facebook group. Please share it inside your sports group. I want to thank every single person for pulling up, every comment, every like, everybody that peeked their head in to see, everybody that made a comment, no matter if it was appropriate or not. Shout out to y'all. This year is going to be filled with a lot of action. I'm going to be doing more live streams, so it's going to be a lot more packed with stuff. But listen, folks, definitely, I just appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, big time. I do a lot of content. And it's just, I love sports. So I love sports. I love to talk about it. It's just like, it's one of them things. So, but shout out to y'all. I'm about to get off here. I got some more videos on my edit. I got some more content that I'm releasing today. So I'll be releasing more over the next couple of days. I'm going to be talking about a lot more topics. That I see that you guys, if you comment under a video that you want to talk about something else, if you want to talk about whatever, leave those comments in the comment section. I see those things, and I can make videos, and I can go live, and I could do things, and we could talk about them on the live stream. So you guys tell me whatever you want to talk about, and it doesn't matter. Current events, it could be past, it could be comparisons of players, it could be college, it could be NFL, MLB, soccer, anything. I love all kind of sports. So it's not just one sport here. So, but thank y'all so very much. Thank y'all for helping me do the best I can on this YouTube channel. It truly means a lot. It truly means a lot. And I do respond to the messages. I do see all the comments, and I thank y'all so very much. It's been an action-packed almost hour we've been on the live stream. Shout out to the, 300 plus people that's been in here? 330 people that's in here. I thank you so very much. Until next time, folks, y'all be blessed. Y'all be blessed.